All right, man, peace. Oftentimes I'll make videos pertaining to people falling down what I call the quote unquote woke rabbit hole. And you always have to be careful when you fall down a rabbit hole because all a rabbit hole is a metaphor for a portal into a delusional world where you try to concoct your own sense of reality. And you'll see that oftentimes with many of these more prominent figures in this society, especially in the sports world, because they're often the subjects of veneration. They create their own cult of personality and they foster it by trying to encourage other people to adore them. They like to be the center of adulation. And one of the prime examples of that in this modern day time is Mr. LeBron James. He's fallen so deep down his own rabbit hole. LeBron has fallen down the LeBron rabbit hole so deep that he has a very strange and an extremely exaggerated sense of who he is as a person and his own importance in the world. He doesn't understand that all he is a high profile minstrel. And I don't say that from a racial perspective. I say that from a literal perspective. The term minstrel just means a servant. That's all a minstrel is someone who's there to serve as entertainment. He's not a rebel leader. He's not a revolutionary. He's not a societal force. He's not any of those things. All he is a very prominent minstrel, as all top level entertainers are. I don't care if you're a musician, a singer, an athlete. That's all you are. You're not going to change the world, but he seems to believe that he is. And seeing as he believes that, he tends to take himself way too seriously. And that's the case with this story pertaining to him and Nick Saban, the coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. LeBron James started this little rinky-dink series on his uninterrupted network, his website, where he sits down in a barbershop and talks shit with other athletes. And he believes that Nick Saban stole his idea to make his own barbershop talk show. So, of course, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
This is the Sports Center right now. I'm Anthony Collins. Alabama head coach Nick Saban is responding to LeBron James and his concerns that the Crimson Tide's new video series Shop Talk is too similar to James's series The Shop. So much so that LeBron's digital company sent a complaint letter to Alabama. Saban didn't sound like he's ready to back down.
I think LeBron James is a great player. There's been at least 20 barbershop type things I've seen on TV. I didn't know anybody owned that. I didn't even...
Yes, you've seen 20 barbershop type things on TV. But let's be for real, Nick. You also saw LeBron's. And you said this would be a great way for me to court many young black athletes. Let's be for real, Nick Saban. You saw LeBron James' television show and you said to yourself, this will be a great way for me to court young black athletes to the Alabama Crimson Tide. It'll make me look even more cool. For those of you who don't know, Nick Saban likes to go to a lot of these young black men's houses and do all type of dances with their families. He does the electric slide. He does all that. He'll do anything to appear hip and cool and ingratiate himself with a prospective athlete's family. So I'm sure that he saw LeBron James's little skit, his little vignette, The Shop, and he said to himself, you know what, I can adapt that for my own purpose. And, Negroes like to talk shit in barbershops. So I'll just make up my own show and hopefully appeal to that demographic a little bit more. But, just to act like you didn't know that LeBron had that show, that's disingenuous.
Didn't even know he had one. I'm sorry that anybody could be offended by something that we were just having fun with, and I enjoyed it, and we're going to continue to do it.
I agree with him in regards to that. I don't think that it's that big a deal. But for him to say that he was not aware that LeBron James had that show, I think that he's being disingenuous. That's not sincere.
I respect with him as a coach, but I'd be damned if I allow someone to use our platform or try to,
What platform are you talking about, Negro? The internet? What are you talking about, man?
Do the same thing we're doing.
Talk shit in a barbershop? People have been doing that for 4,000 years. What are you talking about, LeBron James?
And, just think it's okay. So the lawyers will figure it out.
Yeah, the lawyers will figure it out. Is that what you said when all those women wanted to know how much money they're going to get paid to have your side babies? Did you say the lawyers will figure that out? Come on, man. Allegedly.
For more more on the James and Steven feud. Let's get it back to First Take.
Well, there's that. LeBron and Nick Saban in a legal battle. Clearly, Max, how do you think this makes the King look?
I'm going to answer before Max answers. I think that it makes LeBron James look really silly. It makes him look like someone who takes himself a little bit too seriously. I mean, come on, man. It's not even like that show is blowing up on the internet. You sound a little bit insecure. And I'm sure that as an ulterior motive, he's also hoping that this can provide some publicity for his show. If Nick Saban is allowed to keep his show and just change the title, it'll also provide some publicity for his show as well. So they may end up doing each other a favor. But LeBron just looks silly, as he normally does. Other than when he's on the basketball court, he normally just makes an ass of himself, taking himself way too seriously and trying to involve himself in causes that he oftentimes does not comprehend.
It makes LeBron look bad and petty.
I agree.
By the way, LeBron, I was doing barbershop stuff on the radio like 10 or 15 years ago, so cease and desist. That's ridiculous, right? I was bracketing up stuff, everything except for March Madness tournament things, like Killer Animal tournament on the radio 10, 15 years ago. So everyone stop bracketing everything that's not basketball. It's absurd. LeBron, to quote Gangstar, late great guru.
Yeah, Guru, the homosexual that died of AIDS, allegedly.
Take it personal, because he's taking this very personal, Molly, apparently, and trying to make it about business. You don't own no loop. It's how you hook it up in the rhyme style, troop. I mean, what is he talking about?
Look at Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith, he's getting so tired of this guy and his rap references. Max Kellerman is just a reformed wigger.
Because LeBron does something in a barbershop, no one else can do that?
I agree with you, Max Kellerman.
You have to stop. Nick Saban's 100% right here, and LeBron is 100% wrong.
I don't think that either one of them are right or wrong. I just think that both of them have the right to have a barbershop show. I mean, give me a break. Are you serious? LeBron's the type that said to himself, I'm inspiring millions of kids through my barbershop show, and I'm not going to allow Nick Saban to take that from me. Like, nigga, please. This guy really thinks he's Muhammad Ali or something.
Unfortunately, I completely agree with Max. The bottom line is this. I don't know what the hell LeBron is doing here. I appreciate greatly his entrepreneurial spirit, the fact that he's always thinking about business. He's not just about basketball. He's not somebody who should ever be told to just shut up and dribble.
No, actually, he should be told to just shut up and dribble until he informs himself enough that he can dispense information based off of knowledge as opposed to emotion. Yes, he should actually shut up and dribble, Stephen A. Smith. Just because he's LeBron James does not mean that he should not be allowed to speak and then have someone tell him to shut the hell up until he knows what he's talking about. He has the right to speak. Of course he does. But he also has the right to be told that he should just shut the hell up until he knows what he's talking about. Because for the most part, he doesn't. And he does what he does and says what he says for publicity.
He's significantly more than that. I appreciate that. I appreciate his entrepreneurial spirit. But you have to have some credence to your argument, and I don't see anything here. First of all, any kind of lawsuit or any kind of complaint that he wants to file, it's a bit ambiguous to say the least. Secondly, as far as I'm concerned, the movie Barbershop should, they should call LeBron if that's the case, along with a host of others, that existed long before he came along with this on Uninterrupted.
Absolutely. And as a so-called black man, I could tell you, so-called black men have been sitting in barbershops talking about nonsense and bullshit for millennia, okay? For millennia. LeBron has not invented anything new. LeBron will have you think that they should retire the number 23 and stop anybody else from wearing it because of what he did instead of what Michael Jordan did. That's how bugged out this guy is. But he is, what LeBron James is the product of this current media environment, where they have venerated him and worshipped him and put him on a pedestal so much and gassed his head up so much that now he has a distorted sense of his own self-worth, of his own reality. He has a great worth as a man, and the things that he does is phenomenal, right? The things that he does for his community are great, but he tries to act like he's a messiah. And you see that oftentimes with people who have not had a good cap put on their ego. They start to approximate a Messiah complex, and he needs to have parameters put around his comprehension of what reality actually is.
Thirdly, if LeBron James has any credence to his argument, then First Take's about to be sued and every other debate show imaginable, because last time I checked, there's a whole bunch of shows that preceded us, okay? And so let's call it what it is. This is not the first. I mean, to walk around like you've got dominion over this is a bit ridiculous.
Well, you guys are the ones who call him King James. You keep calling him the king. So, of course, he feels like he has dominion over everything. What do you expect? LeBron James is like the real-life Truman Show. He thinks that he's living in a real world, and he's really just living in a construct. And he doesn't get that.
And to pick Nick Saban of all people as if he's looking to get ahead or something like that. This is a man and we know how many championships this man has won as a college football coach, the greatest in the game today. It's one of those situations where he's just sitting down with his players in a barbershop and having a conversation. It was him and one of his former players, Julio Jones, if I remember
Yes, Julio was there. But let's be for real. Nick Saban, he saw the LeBron James show. He told himself that's a good idea because Nick Saban likes to stay ahead of the pack. He wants to know what he can use to reel in a lot of young black men. He understands, as most older Caucasian men do, that oftentimes young black men take the energy from their mother, which means that they want to be ingratiated into the white mainstream and they want the approval of the Caucasian man. So it's really just a matter of finding out what psychological ploy he can use and update intermittently to draw the black man to his college, his institution, his university, as opposed to him deciding to sign with Auburn or Florida or Tennessee or Texas or anywhere else that the so-called black man may decide to go as opposed to Alabama. Nick Saban said to himself, well, who is the most prominent black athlete today? He said, okay, LeBron James. Let me see what LeBron is doing. Oh, LeBron's in a barbershop. That's a good idea. Blacks like barbershops. They like talking shit in barbershops. I should make my own barbershop show. Ding. That's pretty much how that went.
What I read correctly. I think
allegedly, that's how that went.
I think this is much ado about nothing. I think it puts a spotlight on LeBron James and the fact that he's a bit excessive with this particular argument.
He's excessive with most of his arguments, Stephen A. Smith.
In the same breath, him, Maverick Carter, and others, I appreciate their entrepreneurial spirit. I truly, truly do. I appreciate the effort that they put forth in trying to come up with new and innovative things. And for the most part, they've been successful and nothing short of brilliant, as far as I'm concerned, in a lot of things they've done. So this is not to excoriate them in any way. It's just that in this particular situation, when it comes to barbershop talk involving athletes, what in God's name would make you think you deserve to have dominion or monopoly on such a thing? It existed long before
I'll tell you what,
and it's going to be
Stephen A.
here after you're gone.
Well, I'll tell you what, before Max Kellerman tells you, Stephen A. Smith, the reason why he feels like he should have dominion over such a thing, quote unquote, is because of the cult of personality that has been fostered by the modern day liberal sports media. You guys who fed him on the daily, who tell him that he's the greatest thing since sliced bread and make him think that he's some type of modern day Bill Gates or Steve Jobs or someone of that, Warren Buffett, someone of that ilk who was just going to set the business world on fire. That's why. And part of it, let me also say this. When you're alpha male or you're approximating alpha malehood like LeBron James is, of course you want to stake out your territory. So that's common. But this is frivolous. So I don't know if this type of a lawsuit is going to have legs, but you never know. We'll see. When LeBron James says the lawyers will handle it, it's because he has the best lawyers that money can buy. So you never know what's going to happen.
Right, I'll tell you what, Stephen A., and this is where it gets a little deeper, and I hate to say it, but LeBron comes off as a bit of a bully here in the event that he doesn't understand the arguments.
I don't say that he comes off as a bully. I would say he comes off as a brat. Sometimes being a brat or bratty can transition over into bully if they have the power and the prestige to do so, but I don't think he's going to be able to bully Nick Saban. So I don't think that term is apropos. And as you can see by Stephen A. Smith's face, he agrees with me.
Then his argument must be, or his people's argument must be, well, This brand is so big. We've blown this up so big, and LeBron is such a global figure and icon that but whoever did it before us, people aren't thinking about them. They're thinking about us because we took it to some new level. And it's so identifiable with our brand. Therefore, now if anyone does...
What the hell are they showing Ben Simmons for? I thought we were talking about LeBron James.
One does it, they're biting. You know, they're trying to ride that wave. In that case, if that's his argument, then he's just trying to use his leverage, his position, to bully others from doing something that people have always done.
Well, first of all.
Well, let's be for real. Before Stephen A. Smith speaks, LeBron James has been trying to bully the media into making him the #1 player of all time for the last 3 years now. Or for the last 2 years, pardon me. Since they won the championship in 2016, he's been trying to bully the media into projecting him as the #1 NBA player to ever play. And he's become accustomed to utilizing those tactics in various forms and ways. Do I consider this bullying? Not necessarily. I consider this more brattiness. But there's a thin line between being a bully and a brat. A lot of bullies start off as brats. So, I mean, I guess you could say that I don't really buy the use of that term in regards to this situation, because I think that inherently what the term bully would imply is that you have more power than the person that you're coming against. I don't think that he has more power than Nick Saban or the University of Alabama.
First of all, I would beg to differ, because let me tell you something right now. I can appreciate the fact that Uninterrupted has been successful in whatever way they want to define success or whatever the case may be. But I mean, I'm not sure that there's anything innovative that's going on here.
Not even a little bit. There's no innovation at all going on there. And I mean, if we really want to go there, we can accuse LeBron James of biting off of Derek Jeter's idea for the Player Tribune. LeBron talking about, I just wanted Uninterrupted to be a place where athletes could come and state their position. No, you, nigga, please. You stole that from Derek Jeter. Just stop.
And it's resonating in such a fashion that it's all that matters. That's the only kind of
right,
talk.
I'm saying that might be his argument. If that's his argument, it's a bad one.
Well, we understand that, Max. But the point is, it doesn't hold water. And secondly, and more importantly, where I am completely diametrically opposed to your position is that he's trying to bully Nick Saban. If you're trying to be a bully, Nick Saban ain't the one that...
I agree, sir. I totally agree.
That would, that you're trying to do that to.
And I think that LeBron understands that, which is why when Nick Saban said what he said, LeBron responded by saying, I expected him to say that. Because LeBron knows that he can't bully Nick Saban. That's why I stated that the term bully is not appropriate. This is going to be a battle. So we'll see what happens.
Nick Saban is on that level.
Found that out.
A matter of fact, Nick Saban is on a bigger level, because last time I checked, he's got more championships than LeBron. So let's be clear about something here. Wait a minute now. In terms of his chosen profession and what he brings to the table, we have mentioned Nick Saban as arguably the greatest ever. That would put him on the same level as LeBron in his respective sport.
But LeBron's global, obviously.
Says who?
This is not a global issue, though. So that is Stephen A. Smith's point.
Because of the
Let me ask you a
sport.
question. Let me ask you a question. When we were talking college football, college football, was Nick Saban, was LeBron James big then?
No, but I'm saying LeBron's a global brand.
Right. All I'm saying to you is this. At his chosen profession, Nick Saban is every bit as big as LeBron.
Absolutely, Stephen A. Smith. All you have to do to respond to what Molly Karam stated is that this is not a global issue. It's a national issue. And it is questionable as to whether or not LeBron James has more prestige than Nick Saban nationally. It is questionable. Nick Saban is huge, man. And that platform that he has at the University of Alabama is a huge platform. He has a lot of clout. One can say that he has more clout in college football than LeBron James has in basketball here in the United States.
Nick Saban is an even better college coach than LeBron James is an NBA superstar.
That's all I'm saying.
But NBA superstars are bigger deal than college coaches.
The word bully doesn't apply.
I have a question.
Look, I think it still does. Because if it's LeBron's argument, then he's trying to throw his weight around, right? So I do think it applies. What Nick Saban showed is he's got enough weight, and oh, by the way, I ain't going to get bullied by LeBron.
Does any part of you think LeBron is just doing this to get press?
It's possible. It's possible that he's doing that to get press. But if he was that desperate to received press or attention for uninterrupted, then he most likely would have staged some type of event or issue that he could have utilized to talk about uninterrupted and the barbershop platform before. Now, we've seen he try to use Draymond Green from the Golden State Warriors and a couple of other athletes he's used to become a part of the barbershop setting as props. I don't think that he's that desperate. I just think that that's an ulterior. Like, that's just a little extra thing that gets thrown into the pot when he gets to go back and forth with Nick Saban on this issue.
Well, it's possible. I mean, with LeBron James, you never know because the narrative is so important. I mean, the headlines, they're manipulating the headlines.
Uninterrupted.
Yes, he's a politician.
Interrupted in the news
It's so incredibly important. We can never underestimate that reality. It's possible, but in the end, the entrepreneurial spirit that he clearly has may tell him to do everything that he can to monopolize this kind of genre. All I'm trying to say is that there's no argument here because it's incredibly ambiguous. It's not definitive in any way. Nick Saban is perfectly within his right to do it. I can't imagine any kind of case from a legal matter that LeBron James has in this particular argument. I just can't imagine it, but it'll be interesting to see.
Molly? Molly?
Yeah.
If he's doing what you asked, what you suggested, my hat's off to him.
It's brilliant,
because
right?
I did not consider that, and in that case, we're like a fish on the hook. He just baits the hook and throws it into the water, and we're all dangling from the hook if he did that. But I don't think that's what he did.
No, I don't think that's what he did either. LeBron can be rather Machiavellian, but I don't think that there are any Machiavellian tactics at play here.
If he did,
Well, the fact of the
LeBron,
matter
my
is
hat's
it's
off
news.
to you.
The fact of the matter is that it doesn't matter whatever his agenda is, his motivation behind his actions. You go in front of the camera and you're talking about filing a suit against Nick Saban. That would be news.
Of course, they're both
So I
teams in their own arena.
I don't look at the fish on the hook and all of this other stuff. It's news.
All right,
We're in the news business.
we're out of time, gentlemen.
But anyway, we'll see what happens here. I thought that this story was relevant, if for no other reason than it was extremely indicative, in my view, of LeBron's overinflated sense of self. It's very important that you do not allow yourself to believe a lot of the hot takes that people have about you in regards to how big or how important or how great you are. You have to set your own parameters in regards to what you're going to allow into your subconscious mind in regards to what people tell you about you, whether good or bad. And I think that LeBron has lost a little bit of scope, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, peace.